All right, we need to talk about inflation because most people that I speak to have no understanding of what it really is. They don't know how it works and they don't get why it's dangerous. And when you don't understand the problem, you tend to overlook the solution. I shouldn't have to tell you, you've seen the prices go up on everything from rent to gas to food to hotels to travel, everything, right? The only thing that hasn't gone up is your paycheck, right? And everyone feels that. So let's start with what it is, right? People tend to think of inflation as just the prices going up, but what you need to understand is that inflation is the devaluing of your dollar, right? Your dollar is losing purchasing power, right? Whatever you could buy this year with $100, you won't be able to buy with $100 next year. Remember when we were kids and Subway had that $5 footlong deal? How much is a footlong right now? Like $12, $15. Remember how much a meal from McDonald's cost when we were in high school, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Okay, all right. You get what I'm saying? I went to the store and a Reese's Pieces is $1.25 now. Back in the day, it used to be 85 cents. Now, how does this happen? Essentially, our governments or central banks, they print money out of thin air. That's as simple as I can put it. Whenever they feel like it, they click a button or snap their fingers, and billions or trillions of dollars are flooded into the market. Now, think about this. You've got to go trade your time and energy and bust your ass to get dollars, while these guys can just print money at home and go spend it. What would happen to you and I if we printed money and tried to spend it? They would throw our asses in jail, right? That's why they call inflation legal counterfeiting, because that's what it is. They're allowed to print money whenever they want, at will, however much they want, and use it for whatever they want, right? That's crazy. If we tried to do the same thing, we would be locked up. You see, this is the scam that we're all a victim of, inflation. They get to steal your wealth, your value, and not get in trouble, right? If it was the other way around, you'd be getting in trouble. That's why they call inflation the silent thief, right? Or the silent tax, right? Because they know if they tried to go in your pockets or in your bank accounts and take 10% of your account every year, people would riot, people would spaz out, right? But because they're doing it so subtly, it goes over most people's heads and people don't take it in. They're just okay with prices rising, right? Prices are rising, but is quality getting better? Right? Are services getting better? No, people just have to charge more because there's more money in the system. But we'll get to that. So the reasons our governments and central banks can do this is because there's an unlimited supply of dollars, right? So the things that we use today as money, right? Dollars, pesos, pounds, those are unlimited in supply. Real money, real hard money is limited in supply. So think gold, think Bitcoin, right? The thing with gold and Bitcoin is that they have the characteristics of being able to store value, right? Your dollar, your peso, your pound can't store value because there's an unlimited supply, right? You can create them whenever you want. So, how valuable could it really be? People don't understand that this problem of inflation is affecting everybody, right? All around the world, all 8 billion of us are victims of inflation, right? From the rich to the poor, right? From black, white, Chinese, Arab, it doesn't matter. You are subject to inflation, right? Inflation hurts the poor first, right? Because one, they don't have any assets, they don't have any savings, and the price of things keep going up. So they're just losing on all fronts. Next, inflation hurts the middle class, right? The middle class may have some savings, but what they don't realize is that their savings are being devalued every day, every month, every year because new money is being put into circulation. And whatever money they have is losing its value, it's losing its purchasing power, right? Remember, just a few seconds ago, I was talking about how we had the $5 footlongs about 10 years ago, right? But now those same $5 footlongs are now 12, $15 footlongs. It's not that the sub got better or they're using better ingredients. It's just that there's more money circulating in the system. So it only makes sense for these companies to charge you more for the same thing. Don't get it twisted. Even the rich and wealthy feel the effects of inflation, right? But the difference between them and the poor and middle class is that they know what to do to protect their wealth, to protect their value, right? It's all about finding your multiplier. Where are you storing your money? Are you storing it in a bank? Are you storing it in shoes and in designer clothing? Are you storing it in jewelry? Are you just storing it in cash? Or are you storing it in an asset that actually maintains its value? I want you guys to understand that this is bigger than money, right? When you destroy the value of people's money, you also destroy the value of their work. Like, why save for anything? Why plan? Why build anything, right? People start looking for shortcuts in inflationary environments. Haven't you noticed the uptick in gambling, the uptick in scamming, right? That's not by coincidence. Look at the amount of people looking for fast cash, right? It's not because they're lazy, it's more so because they're desperate. They have no choice. Inflation pushes people and holds people in survival mode, right? Inflation isn't something that causes people to thrive, right? It's not that they don't want to do meaningful work, it's that they literally can't afford to. Being in an inflationary environment kills patience, it kills discipline, it pushes people towards a YOLO attitude, right? Why save up 10 years for something or save money for however long when you know that your money's going to lose value, right? This is giving people the incentive to spend their money and blow their money on fast things or very temporary things, right? When the money in a society is broken, society tends to unravel, right? We've seen it happen in previous generations. Every generation or every society that's used a fiat currency or a currency that could be printed into oblivion, they've all fallen. So now that we have an understanding about the problem, we could dive into the solution a little bit, right? Because remember, inflation isn't by accident, it's not part of nature. It's engineered. So this system is working the way it's supposed to work, right? But you can protect yourself if you know what the problem is, right? Knowing the problem is half the solution. Step one is to stop thinking in terms of dollars, right? Instead of asking yourself, how much dollars do I have? You need to ask yourself, what can these dollars buy me, right? Because every year that's going to change, right? So you need to think about, what is my purchasing power? Is it going up or is it going down, right? Say you get a raise from 75 to $90,000. Cool, right? That's a $15,000 raise. But what does that matter if the average price of a home goes from $400,000 to $800,000, right? You didn't gain purchasing power. Yeah, the amount of dollars you make went up, but did your quality of living go up? Probably not. You also need to think about, where are you saving your wealth, right? If you're saving your wealth in dollars, you're losing, right? Dollars are not meant to store value, right? Dollars are losing value every single day because they can be printed out of thin air, right? Dollars are meant to be spent, right? So you need to think about, where can you put these dollars? What vehicle can you put these dollars in to store the value over time? The second thing you need to do is start thinking about what assets you need to hold, because the only way you're going to get through inflation is by assets, right? Remember what an asset is. An asset is anything that holds value or appreciates in value over time, or it produces cash flow, right? This is called finding your multiplier. You need to find something that maintains your value or multiplies it over a period of time. Traditionally, people have put their money in stocks, bonds, real estate, commodities like gold and silver, yourself, businesses, right? But then we have Bitcoin, right? If you're talking purely from a perspective of storing financial power and your wealth, Bitcoin is the best performing asset we have ever seen, right? And you don't need to take my word for it, right? You've heard me speak about it at length for a little bit now, but don't take my word for it. Do your own research, and the numbers will show you, right? The numbers don't lie. The main reason Bitcoin outperforms everything is because it's limited in supply. The government could build more houses, businesses could create more shares or stocks, right? They can create more bonds. People can dig up more commodities like gold and silver if they really wanted to. Right? Bitcoin is the only thing that is limited in supply, and you can't create more when you want to. Right? You can't manipulate it. You can't duplicate it. You can't inflate it. The next thing you need to do to protect yourself is educate yourself, right? Read a book, listen to a podcast, watch a webinar, listen to people who teach you how money works, right? A lot of us spend 30, 40, 50 years working for money, but not understanding how it works, right? Right. No one's going to teach you that stuff. You have to go search for that stuff yourself. Learn about central banks, learn about how inflation works, learn what sound money is, right? Look up why Bitcoin was created, right? These things will help you on your journey to financial prosperity and freedom, right? But no one's going to just come out and teach you. You have to search for the information and knowledge yourself. You don't have to turn into a financial guru, but you do need to educate yourself so you can protect you and your family from being a victim of inflation. Something else you could do to protect yourself, and it doesn't have to be right away, but you need to think about it, is figuring out a way to get paid in better money, right? There are a whole bunch of entrepreneurs and businesses in the US right now that are providing their consumers and customers different options on how to pay them, right? For example, Shake Shack in the USA just gave their customers an option to pay them in Bitcoin, right? One, Bitcoin's a stronger, sounder money, but two, it's faster and cheaper than using credit cards, right? That's what they've said themselves, right? So that's something for people to think about, right? You as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, you can accept payments in Bitcoin as well, right? So I have a feeling that that's where the world is headed. That's where our society is headed. Look, at the end of the day, inflation is the problem that we're all dealing with right now. And whether you feel it or not right now, you're going to feel it at some point, right? And it might be too late by then. If you got this far into the video, you now have some idea of what's happening around you, right? And with that being said, you can now make some moves to help protect yourself and your family going on into the future. You need to do all you can to learn how money works, and you need to stop stacking dollars and saving dollars, and you need to start buying assets, right? Because those without assets are going to fall behind, and it's going to happen faster than you could believe, right? I already see it. I've spent the last 5 years buying assets, buying stocks, right? I could have been out having fun. I could have been fucking my money off in the club or spending it on vacations or just racking up credit card debt. But no, I decided to put my money in assets where they were going to appreciate in value. And I've seen the gap widen, right? And I don't want you guys to fall any more behind than you are right now, right? So just keep that in, because if you don't control your money, someone else will, right? You need to take back your time, take back your energy, and take back your value. So if you made it to the end, drop a like, share it with someone, subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and stay tuned for the next one.